if you start investing $100 a month when you're just 21 years old. Do this every single month until you retire. Let's assume that you retire when you're 66, and you can get an average 10% return on your money. This doesn't mean that your money grows by 10% every single year, but on average you get a 10% return. You are going to retire with more than $1 million. But now let's assume that you don't start investing when you're 21 and you don't start investing when you're 31 because you didn't know about investing. So now you start investing when you're 45 years old and you do the same thing. You start investing $100 a month, you get the same 10% return. Well, now by the time you retire when you're 66, you're not going to have $1 million. You're not going to have $500,000. You're not even going to have $250,000. You're going to have less than $100,000, which is not going to be enough for you to retire. So now what if you go out and you double your investment? You start investing more aggressively, and now you start investing $200 a month, trying to make up for lost time. So now you're 45, investing $200 a month, trying to get towards your retirement, get the same return. Well, now you're only going to have $188,000 when it comes time for you to retire, which is nowhere near what you're probably going to need if you want to retire comfortably. In today's economy, the average American is going to need $1 to $2 million to retire comfortably. This is not a lavish retirement where you're flying first class around the world. We're talking about a nice retirement where you don't got to worry about your bills for the rest of your life, and you're not going to do that here, even if you invest $1,000 a month. Now, when you're 45 years old and you get the same returns, you're still going to have just under $1 million. So what do? Do you just give up? Well, no, you need to know how to use your money right if you're starting your financial education journey a little bit later. And by the end of this video, if you watch this video till the end, you're going to know exactly what you should be doing with your money. Traditional financial planning says that by the time you turn 40 years old, you want to have something like 3 times your annual income saved up and put aside for your retirement. So if you're making 50 grand a year, you want to have $150,000 put aside. If you're making 100 grand a year, $300,000. If you're making $500,000 a year, you should have $1.5 million put aside. Now, if you do not have that, you are not alone. There's a lot of people that did not grow up learning about money, that did not grow up learning about investing, that did not know what they should be doing with their money. So if you're one of those people that did not start in their 20s, you are not alone. If you're a little bit older and you don't have a lot of money put aside for retirement, there are 6 things that you need to do in this order if you want to retire wealthy. It's not going to be easy, but it is possible, and you need to make sure that you're following these 6 steps in this order. So let me start by talking about number 1, which is first developing the right mindset. Now, I know what you're thinking. Mindset? How is that going to help me actually become wealthy? Well, let me put it this way. If you don't have this one right here, if you don't have the right mindset, I don't care what you're doing with numbers 2 through 6, because you are not going to be able to retire wealthy if you don't have this. This is crucial to developing all of these. You have to start by believing in yourself and knowing that you will become wealthy. If you're sitting there every single morning telling yourself that you're never going to be able to be financially free, that you're never going to be able to retire, you're right. I can't convince you otherwise. I cannot change the way that you feel about yourself, but until you change the way you feel about yourself, it doesn't matter what you're doing here. You have to have the right mindset before you can become wealthy, because if you have a broke mindset, you will never be able to have a wealthy bank account. You are wealthy in your mind before you're wealthy in your bank account, so you have to understand that if you are not able to develop this, none of this matters. And if you're struggling here, go out and read some self-development books. Go out and understand how you can develop your mindset. All success starts with your mindset, which is why I call myself the minority mindset, because you have to be able to think differently than the majority of people, and this can be hard when you're constantly around toxic people, when you're constantly around that toxic, broke mindset. So you got to get away from that, and you need to start absorbing some positivity. That way you can understand how you can actually become wealthy yourself. The second thing that you have to understand here when it comes to your mindset is you got to make sure that you're on the right page with your mindset. So if you're married, if you have a spouse, you need to make sure that you two are on the same page, because now you're going to start a brand new financial journey towards wealth, and you cannot do it alone, or you don't want to do it alone. It's going to be a whole lot easier if you and your spouse are on the same page. So if you have a husband, you have a wife, whatever, you got to talk to your partner and you got to figure this out. You need to make sure that you're on the same page, because you're going to have to make sacrifices and you're going to have to put in work, and it's going to be a lot easier if you two are on the same page. And that also means that if you have kids, you got to make sure that they're on the same page as you, because a lot of times mommy and daddy don't want to not give their kids something. If your kids' friends all have the newest bicycle, if your kids' friends all have the newest toys, you don't want to be that person who is not giving their kid the thing that they want. Well, if you are trying to become wealthy, all these little expenses are going to add up, and you have to understand what is your biggest goal right now. If your number one goal right now is to become wealthy, you need to make sure that you are all on the same page as a family. That way you can take care of yourself, because if you don't, you see this all the time when it comes to college. You want to pay for your kids' college. You don't want them to go into student loans, and so you sacrifice your retirement in order to fund your kids' college education. Well, what's going to happen if you do that? They're still probably going to have some student loans, and now they finally graduate college, and now it's time for you to start thinking about retirement, and you have no money saved for retirement. So now your kid might not have all the student loans, but they have to pay for you to retire, and now they're going to be stuck paying for you to retire, so it's still another financial burden on them, or they just forget about you, and now you're stuck trying to figure out how you're going to eat. So before I jump into the financial things, let me just end the mindset part by saying this. While this is going to be hard, it does not mean it's impossible. There are dozens of people that did not see any sort of success until they started hitting their 40s, which was when they started to make a change for their life, so it is not impossible. There are dozens of people who have hit multi-millionaire status, even though they didn't start until their 40s or later. So you are not alone. It is possible, but it is going to be difficult. So you need to understand that. But if you're willing to go for the ride, if you're willing to put in the work, well, let's jump into number 2. The second step out of 5, and your first real financial step, if you want to become wealthy, is you have to start by creating a financial base. The easiest way to understand this is to think about building a home. If you want to build a home, you got to start by digging the foundation. If you do not have a strong foundation, well, now your house is going to be wobbly and it can topple over. The bigger the home you want to build, the bigger the building you want to build, the deeper your foundation needs to be. So you need to start by building a strong base. And what that means financially is you got to start by putting some money aside for savings, and you need to pay down your high interest debt, and you need to do this as fast as humanly possible. If you don't have any savings in the bank, the very first thing you got to do before you do anything else is put a couple $1,000s aside in a bank account that you can easily access for your savings. This is not money you want to have in a stock market account. This is not money you want to have in cryptocurrency. This is not money you want to have somewhere else. This is something you want to keep in the bank that you can easily access, and this is only money that you have for emergencies. Now I know saving money can be weird when you're in an environment where inflation is skyrocketing, but the whole idea of saving money should not be to become wealthy. We got to get this out of our minds, because a lot of us grew up with the mindset that saving is how you become wealthy. Save, save, save. But that's a big, fat lie. That's how I grew up. I grew up in a traditional Indian house, and the traditional Indian mindset is save first. There's a joke that I like to make, that Indian people make $1 to spend 20 cents, while American people make $1 to spend $2 through the help of credit cards and lines of credit. Indian people will make $1 and save 80 cents. That way they can just put this money in the bank thinking that the saving is going to make them wealthy. While American people love the idea of spending, so now they make $1 and they're going to stretch it, thanks to the help of credit cards and lines of credit. That way they can go out and buy more stuff. Now, neither of these are right. You should not be going out and spending more money than you have to buy a whole bunch of liabilities. And you also shouldn't just be saving all of your money, because that savings isn't doing anything. You should be saving your money for 3 reasons, and 3 reasons only. You should save your money for a financial emergency, you should save your money for investments, and you should save your money to buy big and more expensive things. That's it. If it doesn't fall into one of these 3 categories, you should not keep saving your money. So when it comes to your actual savings, you don't want to save more than a year's worth of expenses. Typically, you want to be saving somewhere between 3 months and 6 to 9 months worth of expenses. But if you really don't like risk and you really can't sleep at night knowing that all of your money is invested, or a big chunk of your money is invested, then fine, save up to 1 year's worth of expenses, but do not save more than that in your emergency fund, because that cash is now just being eaten away by inflation. So you save somewhere between 3 months and 12 months worth of expenses, and you do not want to save anything more than that in your emergency savings. But after you have a little bit of savings put aside, so you put aside a couple $1,000s, the next thing you got to do before you do anything else is you have to pay down your high interest debts. So this is your credit card debt, this is your 0% interest rate loans that are now charging you 15% because you didn't pay it off in time. These are your payday loans and any other high interest debts. These are things that are skinning you alive. Back not that long ago, a high interest debt was considered 10% or more. Nowadays, even something less than 10% could be considered a high interest debt. But in general, if it's like a credit card loan, the 0% APR that expired, or a payday loan, these are the loans, this is the debt that you have to pay off before you do anything else. because there's no point for you to try to grow your money at 7 to 10% a year in the market if you got to turn around and pay 15% to your credit card or to your bank. You have to save a little bit of money, and then you gotta pay down this high interest debt as fast as humanly possible. Now, if you're a little bit older and you're watching this and you're trying to figure out how do you do that fast, well, you've probably accumulated a whole bunch of crap over the years. Well, this is the time to start selling that crap. Just look around you. Look around your room, look around your house. What is all that stuff that's just collecting dust, that's not doing anything for you? Now you wanna take that crap, sell it, convert it into cash. So now you turn your crap into cash, take this cash and start paying down your debt. Second thing you want to do is you got to start downsizing. This is going to become painful. First thing you do is you downsize your car. You're driving the BMW, well now you want to take that BMW, convert it into a Toyota Camry. I know this is not fun. Nobody wants to go from a BMW to a Toyota, but this is one of those things that is very painful in the beginning, but it will save you so much money because both your Toyota and your BMW are gonna take you to work just fine, but your Toyota is gonna save you a whole lot more money than your BMW. So now you downsize your car, that way you can save a lot more cash, and then you take this cash to pay down your high interest debt, and now you might wanna consider downsizing on your home too. If you enjoyed this short clip from my longer videos, here's another clip that I think you'll love, and while you're at it, if you're interested in learning more about how to start generating passive income, our team put together an amazing guide that goes over what passive income is, how to start generating passive income, and different passive income strategies. All you gotta do is click that button right over there. Thank you for watching, and as always, keep hustling.